the city of Lagos, boys and girls, has all roots.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa, we break the news.
We are one Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CORETV News.
Welcome to CORETV.
A 24-hour news station.
This is the first in the Southwest series of rallies planned for the 6 geopolitical zones to urge Jonathan to return for a second term. Added to this is an enlightenment on the achievements of the Jonathan administration. These women say it is only Jonathan that demonstrated genuine efforts and political will to give every part of the country equal sense of belonging. This, they say, is why Nigerians have massively turned out to urge him to contest the 2015 presidential election.
The Yoruba people have always supported President Goodluck Jonathan, but propagandists have said otherwise. So today is the day of proof.
It's just to show that the Southwest zone, they were solidly behind Mr. President and were urging him to run for a second tenure. And you can see the response of the people. They're willing to support him. It's not a question of we have to go and start begging them. It's something that we all yearn for. It's something that we're all waiting for. We are here to give our support to Jonathan's second term. He's a president who has done wonders in all fields, in the area of road construction, in the area of agriculture, education, name anything. He has already woken up the whole rail line.
Some key players in the transformation program say the president has done well in transforming the nation's economy and deserved all entreaties to return to office for another term.
Well, today is a day that a group of Nigerians, under the aegis of the Transformation Ambassadors of Nigeria, have come to test the ground whether the Yorubas will endorse Jonathan for second term. And it is very impressive and very heartwarming that the result is a resounding yes.
This for me is a show of support for Mr. President across the length and breadth of our dear country. And I think that I feel personally fulfilled because the President has not disappointed our people.
We can now see how people of the Southwest are supporting Mr. President's presidency, and for continuity's sake, that Mr. President should go ahead with second term. With the Yoruba people are in the support for this continuity.
I think to see the amount of outpouring in this place is quite incredible. It tells you how much the people of this country love President Goodluck Jonathan, and I appreciate what he has done for this country.
Ambassadors of Nigeria 10. It's an NGO here to us gathering friends and well-wishers of Mr. President to showcase achievements meritoriously to qualify for the next election. Southwest caucus, Southwest version, we are holding today, and about 2 million signatures have been signed towards this. That shows that we are ready for Mr. President now.
Exactly 6 months from now, Nigerians will be heading to the poll for the 2015 general elections. This set of people here have come out to express their love, support, and joy for the administration and achievements of President Goodluck Jonathan. They believe so much in his agenda and are beckoning on him to seek a renewal for his mandate. What do you believe? Olabode Osenie, CORETV News, Ibadan.
The Transformation Ambassadors of Nigeria returned stamped Ibadan last week, of course, solely seeking for the second-term agenda of President Goodluck Jonathan. Now, it looks more like a political campaign, but according to that group, it's more like testing the ground and finding out if Southwest is really going to vote for Mr. President a second term. Now, that's not the only group that is doing that in recent times. We've had a lot of groups stamping and begging certain politicians to run for the presidency. It's just about 5 months to the February general elections in 2015. And although no single candidate has shown or has announced officially that he wants to contest or she wants to contest presidency in 2015, but on the contrary, we've had a lot of endorsements. Just yesterday, of course, some members of the House of Assembly in Kano also called on the two-time governor of Kano State, and they are saying he's the right man, he's the one who is fit to run on the ages, on the All Progressives Congress. Of course, you have people from the South Side soliciting for Mr. President, as well as Atiku and many other people. I have also a list of all the groups here. National Coordinator of House to House Campaign Organization, Ogide Ben, publicly declared President Goodluck Jonathan wanted for the race in accordance with the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. Now, this is going to amaze you. He even went ahead to disclose that the women wing of the campaign organization had already raised 19.5 million naira for his nomination form. So according to him, President Jonathan doesn't have to even leave the comfort of his room. All he has to do is just say, I want to contest, and the form will be ready. And of course, the Eagle Square will be full of people running around to support him. The political advisor to Mr. President, Professor Rufai Ahmed Akali, also declared last week that he had inherited 3,000 of such campaign organization, demanding Mr. President to declare his ambition for the 2015 presidential race. Well, ahead of the 2015 election, the question right there on your screen, the TAN Jonathan Campaign and Electoral Act, bearing in mind that campaigns are not allowed until 3 months, and that, I believe, is 90 days to election. So if you do the calculation, elections are supposed to hold in February 2015. This is still a long time coming, you know, compared to what we see happen today. Well, I'm joined by a veteran public affairs analyst, Olabode Osenie, joining us on the Saturday edition of Core Digest. Good morning, and thank you for finding time to join us.
Good morning. Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers.
About 5 or 6 months to the general election in 2015, does it not amaze you that as we speak now, there has not been anybody who has officially announced that he or she wants to contest? Is that much of preparation or a strategy, or does it show that not many people are really ready to lead when it comes to presidential elections in Nigeria?
Thank you. For those who have not signaled, raise up their hands, or make any public move, or say anything openly that they want to run, even though they know they are potential House of Rep person, national, local, governor, presidency, they are not breaking the law. I am not sitting down here this morning as a lawyer. I'm sitting down here as a public political analyst. And I can say to you that the way things are, if you, and any Nigerian has the potential to rule, you have the right to contest elections, but you need to comply, because the biggest problem we are facing, that is facing us in this country, is one thing and only one thing, severally, rule of law. What am I saying? Rule of law is missing. We just don't have rule of law in this country. Yes, people, especially let's take an analogy of students. When you finish, when you're in the university or secondary school or whatever, after a period of time, you'll be put to test. And when you now have about 7 subjects to sit for, your teacher will now mark them whether you pass or not. I think the records should speak for all the elected, already elected public office holders in this country. But we should also be mindful. We should also remember that in order to move this polity, move this country to the next level, we cannot afford to keep breaking the laws.
But then we also have to understand that there's a difference between making one's intention known and outright campaigning for votes.
That's the point I'm trying to connect it.
Okay.
To, if you, as you are sitting down here, I don't know all your ambitions. You might even be thinking or want to go to Lagos State House of Assembly. You're entitled to it if you are qualified. But the point I'm saying is you can only do that within the parameter. You can only do that at the time specified because we have a body. And the point I also want to advance here is we have most of the bodies, most of the organizations, institutions that are supposed to regulate, to ameliorate the settings of good governance are just not, they are not working. That is the problem. I don't know whether you still understand what I'm trying to say. The records of the federal government of Nigeria, the executive, the legislators, even up to the local government, should speak for themselves. But then, if they want to rerun, they should wait and comply with rule of law. And Section 99 of INEC electoral is clear. It says it clearly. Nobody, and there's no exemption there, I read it. Nobody there gather together and start making any form of campaign, unless otherwise when they're asked to, that is 90 days before elections.
Okay, you also recall that there's been a lot of pressure on Mr. President in particular to declare whether he wants to run or not. And that was the question I asked you earlier. For instance, if Mr. President comes out to say, I want to be re-elected, I'm running for a second term in office, that doesn't break that law. That wouldn't be a form of campaign, would it?
No. So with that, if I ask you now, if you ask me, do I want to run for any elective office, I can say, I'm thinking about it. You are not breaking law. The only time when you'll be breaking the law is when officially I now choose Itachi or somewhere around the Papa Jawo to gather a large number of people to be singing or praising or whatever about my intention.
But this group's on the other side.
If it is not within, no, let's get it right.
Okay.
If it is, if I want to run for anything, I have to be aware, to be conscious that I'm only allowed to, of course I can make my intention known to friends and family, but I cannot, and I will say to you, why don't you let us go and tell everybody on whatever we should do now? Say, no, because the laws are there. The Section 99, I cannot break it, because I cannot do any public gathering or ask you to start singing and dancing for me unless the gate is open.
All these campaigns are done under the disguise of soliciting, or pleading that Mr. President should contest in 2015. Do you really think that from the nomenclature of these campaigns, they're actually breaking any law? Because they're not coming out to say, vote for Mr. President. Oftentimes, you hear them say, we are seeking, Mr. President's indulgence to please continue his good work and go for a second term.
All right. I'll answer that with a simple common sense analogy.
Okay.
That is, you and I by now should know the difference between rallies that is connected to electioneering campaign,
okay,
and rallies that are connected to protest, or rallies that are connected to a public crier saying everybody has to come to the town center. And at town center, we want to discuss the issue of ongoing issues in our area.
Okay.
But when it now comes to asking other larger collection of people to endorse, again, we need to be very careful here. I started by saying there's a difference between a collection of people at a rally and also a collection of people at the rally, but their main intention, their main objective is to campaign. So the word campaign, electioneering, is what we are talking about here this morning, isn't it? So again, we cannot afford to flout that section that says you cannot, and there's no exception. I appreciate that people believe in somebody or in someone that is doing a very good job. Oh, I would have really loved to have the governor of Lagos State to have another one more time. But unfortunately, he can only do 2 times. Because why? There are other governors who have performed very, very well. There are people who would have really loved them to go for one more time. But because the law is clear on how many times you can run, you know, and when we are talking here, we should also be able to look outwards, compare, because we copy and paste presidency from America, but we are not operating it the way we're supposed to do it. If things like this were to be happening in other presidential settings of this world, probably the law enforcement agents of that country will go and arrest who are behind this, and they will read the riot act to them and say, you know what, did you know what you are doing? Did you know it is not time to do it? We don't do that.
But how really do you react? What's your opinion as regards Mr. President's seeming silence as regards all of these?
Very clever, and I appreciate him, and that's what I'm saying. This is one good thing I want to appreciate, because again, as an educated person, he knows that he cannot. He has to wait. He has to wait. But you see, the worst crime can be when I'm doing a lot of bad things and you sit down and you do not say anything. You understand me? But fantastic. He knows exactly that. He knows the score that I cannot officially now. In fact, even the closest people to him, you understand me? I say, wait, just wait. When the time comes, I will declare. And I've heard him saying that many times, which I highly acknowledge. Fantastic, super, well done. But then again, I get worried, because 3/4 of the people who are behind this law-breaking business are people who are supposed to be upholding, to operate, to make sure laws, rules and regulations of this country are intact, are obeyed. Because I find it difficult to see either former this or former that, or Dr. this, Chief this, and so on, who are highly educated. Some of them are even professors in political science and public laws. They know. And these are the things, somehow, I hope this message will get to the majority of our people, that it is not right for anybody to start campaigning, whether be it a governor, a legislator, but even if you are doing that within your bedroom, friends and family, because most of these political parties were born from a collection of friends and family at a point in time. But what I'm saying is, INEC made it abundantly clear that no campaign can take place, no electioneering can start or commence until so and so date. Why are we flouting it? Why are we not obeying the law? And you know what? When we break laws like this, it subsequently transcends, go beyond that. It also affects some other laws, rules, and regulations that we break in this country, that is making this country so much ungovernable, that making this country, all efforts of some other people, we cannot see it.
But is there a possibility that Mr. President wakes up today or tomorrow and says, no, I'm not contesting a second term in office?
That is his personal, that's going to be his decision.
I'm asking you, do you see any possibility in that?
It's difficult. To be honest with you, I'm not trying to patronize anybody. If it's number one, I will assume that he will have to sit down, despite the pressure from north, south, and southwest, or whatever. He has to put so many things into consideration. you're talking of an immense responsibility. You're talking of so much that has to do with presidency, with his ability. Again, like I said, as an average Nigerian, he's entitled to run and run again. But that would be his final call. That would be his final decision. You can make so much noise or whatever. You understand me? You can connect so many things. But if he turns around and say, you know what, I do thank you. For some reasons, I'm unable to continue and I do not want to continue. I'm not saying that is what he's going to say. Okay. But the final decision, like who wants to be a millionaire, is that the final answer? And if he says the final answer, do you want to call some friends? I've done that. Do you want the audience? I've done that. My final answer is yes, or my final answer is no. That is the final thing he has to do, despite all these, you know.
We've seen a lot of endorsement, a lot of people talking as regards the 2015 election. For instance, the former boss of Mr. President, Alamesia, former governor of Bayelsa State, said that Mr. President would not only be contesting, but he will also win in the forthcoming election. Well, let me read a piece from you. The All Progressives Congress, as described as utterly callous and insensitive, the ongoing campaign by the so-called GEJites, a pro-Jonathan group for the president's re-election, right at the same spot where the Bring Back Our Girls campaigners have been staging daily protests demanding the safe return of the over 200 girls. Is there anything symbolic about that?
Well, I'll start by saying, again, I noticed and I found out that the way we do business, especially when it comes to governance or politics in this country, is completely upside down. I do not know why politics of this country should be politics of only to get power and to abuse the power the power that is derived from the people. Okay. I think 100% of power that is given to you as a leader at different level should be used for the benefit of the country at different levels. Now, if somebody is now saying Mr. President should run again, I have nothing against his suggestion. You and I can also agree to that. And we can also, according to what we believe in, disagree. And it can also go to further and say he must also win. No, he will win. But you see, do not forget that there's going to be a competition. We are not yet there. It's going to be a competition between political parties. So we cannot now say it like we know it. Because at the end of the day, we have a body that have agreed that we want to conduct a free and fair election. So let us wait for the result of that election before we start making pronouncements. Of course, I know who I'm going to vote for if I'm going to vote. And I hope my vote is going to count like yours and others. But the point we are stressing here is we cannot afford, because along the line, every time you see ABC making some pronouncement, it generates unnecessary unnecessary problems for the polity. You overheat the polity by making certain statements. And I have seen here that the so-called people who are supposed to be in the media, for whatever reason, they are not doing a very honorable job. You understand me? And that is why we should be able, as the fourth realm, to educate more of our people, because it's all a question of education. It's not when you have your professor chair or whatever, or master in mass comm and so on and so forth. Because what you do with that mass comm is another thing. And what you read out is, to me, apart from they are entitled to say whatever they like, but you cannot foreclose, you cannot say that is going to be the result. That means something else is coming. And that is very worrying.
Okay, we also had the APC at one of the rallies in Osun State saying that if the elections in 2015 are rigged, then they would have no choice to run a parallel government. There's been lots of reactions to that. Do you see any credibility in that statement? Running parallel government, because
we cannot get to credibility first. Credibility is far off away from that statement. But I think these are kind of statements we should not allow as long as we agree to work together. And I want to use this opportunity to say, I think we should busy ourselves. We should be concentrate all our efforts as to how good governance people of Nigeria can get, because Nigerians are suffering. There are problems here. There are problems here. People are really, really suffering. People are not getting a little bit of what they are entitled to. Do we have time to start listing all the infrastructure settings that are missing in the life of an average Nigeria? There are numerous, there are a lot of them. So why should we, if we agree that we want to continue to work together, yeah, for the betterment of an average Nigeria, why should we start talking about we want to do this, we want to do that? We do not need that kind of threat now. And I would have suggested to APC or to people behind this kind of thing, let us work in such a manner to bring a program of an arrangement or an engagement and say, you know what? We have seen that this federal something is not working. It's only working one-sided. It's lopsided. Let us sit down and find solution to that. And one of the solutions I want to say openly is, why don't we reduce the so much power? And we can do that by talking to our legislators, because we cannot change that just by talking. We have to do that through the House of National House of whatever and so on. And maybe let's consider breaking into some segments. You know, maybe let's go back maybe to regional arrangements. So when we do, because in your house, you are able to manage your house better, because with your 7 children, probably, for example, you are able, you know them, you know what they need, their needs are, and so on and so forth. You are able to manage them than when you ask to come and manage your local government. Even though the effective of your management in your house can be replicated, you understand me, outside. So the point I'm making is this. I don't know why opposition parties, I have my preference. You understand me? But I think we should be talking more as to how do we benefit? How do we make an average Nigerian get dividends of democracy? And there should be a concerted effort, a synergy, than making a case for, if this does not happen, this will not happen. Because you'll be shocked that most of these people who think once they get the power in the federal, that is all. They don't even know what they are doing. Because it's not money. Money is not everything. You understand me? Money is not everything. And we are seeing it every day on the face of newspapers. How mighty and whatever are collapsing, crashing, and so on and so forth. So I think for the benefit of majority of our people, for all Nigerians, and this takes me to another area which worries me. When I switch on my TV and I see in an area, in a local government of give and take 100,000 people, and now 300 sewing machines, 700 Okadas, and how many thousands of keke napep, and some other things are now being given out. What happened to the remaining 1,000 people? So why can't we think of creating, even, you understand me? We might not be able to get 100% egalitarian settings, but creating employment. And for those who are not employed, creating an arrangement to sustain, to manage them, to get them the support they need. Because everything, like I said, we do here, we either do it because we believe when we do it, nobody can do anything to us.
All right. Let's look at the political terrain in the Southwest, because the ambassadors, the transformation ambassador of Nigeria, the rally we saw in Ibadan, we also heard a member of the House of Reps who said, propagandists have said the Southwest people do not support President Jonathan, and they have come to prove it wrong. You recall that at the advent of democracy, I think in 2009, thereabout, we had some AD governors in the Southwest from, you know, in Osun, Oyo, and some other places, I think even in Ekiti. And then in 2011, we saw PDP sweeping over all those seats. And then towards, in 2007, you know, we have seen a lot of remarkable shift from AD to PDP. Some ACN governors won via the courts. Recently, we saw PDP winning again in an APC state in Ekiti, and then the APC retaining a seat in Osun State. Would you say that would you agree that no singular party can actually say it's in charge of the Southwest as we speak now?
Well, can I go beyond South?
Okay.
Because why I asked that question is also, it's also, you and I know that, or you and me know that also in the North, there are one or two states that are also being controlled, that are being controlled by APC. So, and that's how it's supposed to be. No political party should lay claim or want to have a full coloration of their own color of their party. It is not going to work. It's not possible. So, but again, I think what is important, again, like I said before, is the need for politicians, for people who are in government, to think more of the how best the people. For me, my constituency is the people. How best the people get what. And when I listen to some other political party or some politician say, and I now conclude that sometimes to me might not even matter which political party wins an election, as long as the people. And that's why also we need to continue educating our people. If a political party B, that is not my preference, wins an election and deliver, you understand me? Look after the people. Normally not buying whatever for two people and because the other one are not members. That's not what I'm talking about. So if a political party wins and say the next 4 years I want to make a difference in Lagos State or whatever state I am, and I want to look after everybody because that Ogun State is my constituency. Okay. And as far as I'm concerned, low-cost housing, good roads, Medicare, education, and so on and so forth, is going to be it's going to be my priorities, and I want to work towards that, and I want to make sure that everybody get that. What difference does that make to you? It doesn't matter. You understand me? But you see, because the way we do business here, at first we believe that the platform of political party is an umbrella for us to do whatever we want to do. So if the party in federal, you understand me? If the party in federal now controls all resources of the federation, and I'm also an apex of that in my state, I can do whatever. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. So, again, and it does not necessarily mean that if certain segments, certain zone is full of all one political party, that they are going to perform. No. So we should be thinking about how best to go about good governance. And that is what I think is missing here. And let me quickly go back to issue of these gatherings of some people calling Mr. President to come around. Again, my understanding is, like I said, there are different kind of rallies. If it is a country where people are extremely busy, you understand me? Oh, the presidency, President of America, America is his constituency. He goes, he visits different places, scheduled or unscheduled or whatever, to make sure that his agenda, his policies are working. But he will never go to, unless there's a need and the need will not be something to do with politicking or electioneering. So the point I want to make is that if the large crowd we have seen, yeah, are really engaged, gainfully employed, working, where other countries that seconds are put together to make a minute, and then a minute are put together to make an hour, and so on and so forth, and it now have effect on the economy, on input and output of the country, you will never find that. The president is the president of the Federation of Nigeria. He can go anywhere, anytime he wants. He can call the Aregbesola tomorrow and say, I'm coming on a working visit too. But he doesn't need all this crowd. And that's why I'm saying the people behind this kind of crowd, people doing this kind of thing, they're just breaking the law. Because the president can, his record should speak for him. So, and when the time of electioneering comes, the 90 days that has been earmarked for that, I'm sure in the goodwill of INEC, they know that that might be more than enough. So he can still get whatever he wants. So again, let me recap what I'm trying to say. We do not need to have in an area only political party. If we want to do that, we might as well, even if let's use your example, the zone Southwest. If I'm one of the governors tomorrow, and we have two that are not my party, again, like I said, we should start to think how best to help the people of my zone. Okay. That would be my priority. And what I'll be suggesting to them, I say, isn't it now high time for us to consider getting all other stakeholders from other zones to say, look, we have how many zones? There are 6 zones now. Can we get federal government to come down on so much power they have? If we are in majority, we can get to the National Assembly to legislate and say we want to cut down on the power of the presidency, of the federal government, so not the presidency, yeah, on the federal government. And when we're able to do that, we'll be able to have more time, more resources to help our people. And I must say this, I have seen it, and it makes me happy. All the good things Lagos State is doing, for example, I saw the governor going places to places in rain, going to water works to be built that are being built, housing estates and so on and so forth. Because majority of an average British citizen rely on these basic things. Everybody in UK are not millionaires. There are even more poor people. You'll be shocked to find out that there are more poor people in Europe than you think. So we need things like that. And when I see what Aregbesola did, and when I see what other state governors doing, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, River State, and it gladdens my heart. That's how it's supposed to be.
The National Conference talked about zoning of presidency, and you recall some 5 PDP governors that left to join hands with the APC, probably thinking that the next president should be from northern Nigeria. How do you react to this zoning of a thing when we talk about presidency in Nigeria?
Again, thank you. I'm sitting down here this morning as one Nigeria. I'm just one out of millions of Nigerians. And I'm also making my own analysis known to people who have been listening to us. And I know that most of what I say might not go down well with them. And I'm also conscious that most of what I'm about to suggest might not get their approval. Okay. But so be it. I have nothing against, I do respect people's opinion. Now, the answer to your question is this. I'm again 100% against issue of zoning. That is a personal thing. That is a personal thing. That is Olabode Osenie talking. That's the way I say it. Because we have also seen the effect, the level, the amount of not making things to work because of zoning or no zoning. But because some people believe that if we zone, it will reduce the level of agitation. It will reduce the level of, it's my turn, I never get my turn by turn. But you see, the danger in this business is this. If we rotate and we do not get the best quality candidate, or a person who probably is lying low somewhere around Ijebu Jesha, or somewhere in Makodi, or somewhere in Kano, or somewhere Ikorodu, who can do the best, most fantastic business for Nigeria. And because we are forced to must go to Shagamu, and who comes from Shagamu? The person that comes from Shagamu is probably, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Even without voting, has Nigerian gotten the best candidate for the job?
Well, I'm laughing because it's, for me, when in a democracy, I mean, I read political science, and for me, and the system we're operating is a democratic type of government. So, and one of the ingredients, the most important ingredients of this is election. Because for you to have a governor, a local government chairman, or national house of whatever, you have to elect them. Okay. Even though some of the election could turn to something else. But I'm not running away from the question. Yeah, I'll link it. So once anybody or everybody that's sitting in elected positions today are elected, the people have spoken. Yeah, it's another question whether the people we are talking about, including the president that have been elected, are now doing exactly what they have to do. Is another question. But the answer to your question is, once the people have spoken for 4 years, for those, example, that agreed to take a bag of rice, a bag of whatever, and go back and sit down for 4 years to whether they are going to get another one, that would be their palaver, that would be their problem in their house. So, and that is why I was trying to say to you, if more education, if the people, the electorate, get to know more, and if the bodies, the different organization that makes a nation, the polity, are allowed to operate under the rule of law, people will be more geared to knowing who is a better candidate, who is this candidate, what is his antecedent, so and so and so forth. What can they do? Is this candidate A from Maiduguri able to perform, or candidate B from Onitsha will be able to perform? So it is the more education the people, and also the more independent the bodies, you understand me, are allowed to do their job. Because as it is now, we're in a big trouble. And I'm saying that with conviction. Because when I look back a couple of weeks ago, that organizations, spokesperson of an organization are feeding, they are making statements, flammable, you understand me? Making statements, reckless statements, that is possible to set this country on fire. That is not independency. That's not good enough. And when the policing system, the area that's supposed to complement the good work of presidency, chose to be lazy, not to detach themselves and say, you know what, thank you very much, Mr. Presidency, you employed me to do this job, and I want to discharge the job and my duties to the best of my ability to make sure all Nigerians are beneficiary of my appointment. I give a very good example. I will not be surprised if I open if I hear this, I don't have CNN, but if I read on if I Google on my page of my iPad, and I read that President of America has been arrested. Hello? He has been arrested for 1, 2, 3 reasons. And who is behind it? Attorney General. Who appointed the Attorney General? Is the President. So until when we get to that stage, we will not be able to deal with corruption. We will not be able to deal with so many things. So put it together. Once the people vote, once people decide, unfortunately, the final analysis on this is people, the type of government people get is the one they deserve.
That's all right. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back on Cold Digest, we'll open the phone lines and hear from you as we begin to find out what your thinking and opinions are along this line. Since the advent of democratic rule in Nigeria in 1999, the incumbent, especially during presidential election, has always been winning in landslide. Are we looking forward to a duplication of that in 2015? Also, when we come back, we'll be looking at how the might in rallies and campaigns like these, how the numbers tally with what we see oftentimes during election day. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Glad to have you join us on another edition of The Political Arena, the most detailed and incisive political show.
If you are a sitting governor and the opposition is able to stomach structure against you, that means you are wicked to the people.
They gave me 20 minutes to move or they will shoot me.
He has no chance for survival. If he likes himself, this is the best time to get out before he perishes.
The PDP as a ruling party has failed.
So anybody who thinks that government will fold his hands and allow miscreants to take over the streets of Osun State and cause havoc is deceiving himself.
The good, bad, ugly and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on CORETV News.
Nigerians continue to
travel the city of Lagos.
There is still a problem.
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west and around Africa. We break the news.
We are one Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CORETV News.
Welcome to CORETV.
A 24-hour news station.